Hey, it's Aaron here, and we are now so close to the launch of Spin Rewriter version 10 on October 10th. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be our biggest and most important launch ever since we launched version 1 all the way back in 2011. And the reason for that is Spin Rewriter version 10 is bringing a complete, from the ground up, new redesign. Now, before I go any further, I know some people really don't like redesigns because they're set in their ways, they know their process, and they know just what to click to get the results they want. And we get that. So you will always have the option to switch back to the old design if you prefer it. But after watching this video, I'm pretty sure you'll want to use the new design because it's so much better and so much more powerful. So as I was saying, Spin Rewriter has been around for 8 years, and there is just one single downside to growing the same product for 8 years, and it's this. Every single year we've kept adding new features to make the product even better. But with every new feature, there's some new settings and a new button to click, and over time, almost imperceptibly, the user interface design gets a little bit messy. So for the launch of version 10, we brought in some world-class UX experts, user design experts, and we did a bunch of user testing, which means we brought people into our office and watched them use Spin Rewriter for the very first time. And doing that, we discovered so many little things when people were getting confused or didn't know what to click, and we were able to resolve all of those issues with the new version 10 design. So it's now an absolute joy and delight to watch new people use Spin Rewriter for the first time, because it's like watching a pro use a software they've been familiar with for ages. So it's absolutely amazing. And I want to show you all the improvements we've made. So let's just get right into it. So let's start right here in the old design in step 1. So in order to spin an article with Spin Rewriter, you have to go through 3 steps. In step 1, you enter your article. This is this big input field right here. And you pick a couple of settings. Then in step 2, you've got your article and you click on individual words and phrases to select the synonyms you want to use. Or you can use one-click rewrite, so Spin Rewriter does all of the work for you and picks all of the synonyms for you. And then in step 3, you've got your finalized article, and you can use it to generate unique versions of your article, or you can export hundreds of unique versions and so on. So let's take a look at step 1 in the old design. We've got a couple of additional options here. We can fetch a new article from a database of articles, so we've got an article to work with, which is great. And then we've got the information about how many words our article has. And if we enter an article or just a simple sentence in this case, we can see that the text has 16 words. And we can also fix the grammar here. And then if we go a bit lower on the page, we'll see that we have 2 sets of settings, of options. The first set of options lets us tell Spin Rewriter if we want it to work on the structure of our sentences and paragraphs, or if we want Spin Rewriter to write additional paragraphs on its own, because this is what Spin Rewriter can do before we get into step 2. And then we've also got the one-click rewrite settings, which tells Spin Rewriter what to do with individual words and phrases. This is how we tell Spin Rewriter if we want to use as many synonyms as possible for every single word, or if we only want to use the synonyms that are definitely correct and that Spin Rewriter is very confident about. So we've got 2 different sets of settings, and then in order to move to step 2, we have 2 buttons, and one says Start Rewriting and one says One-Click Rewrite, and it's not immediately apparent for new users what these 2 buttons will do and which one is more important. And the thing is, the Start Rewriting button takes us to step 2, where we can start rewriting our article. But the one-click rewrite button here takes the user to step 2 and then does all of the work for them immediately, picks all of the synonyms, and then it takes the user to step 3, where their article is finalized. So for new users, this is kind of confusing because they have 2 ways of moving forward in the process. So now with all of this in mind, let's take a look at step 1 in the new design. So this is now step 1 of the new Spin Rewriter version 10 design, and you'll immediately see just how much cleaner it is. Now I was talking about the 3 steps before, but in the old design we actually never told the user there were going to be 3 steps. They just knew they were in step 1, but they didn't know if there were going to be 3 steps or 11 steps. But in the new design, you immediately see you're now in step 1, and then you've got a step 2, and then you've got a step 3. So the new users know exactly where in the process they are, and that's a great feeling. And then we've still got the big input field as before, which is where you enter your article, and we've still got the option to fetch a new article. But we're not showing the number of words, and we're not showing the option to fix grammar because there's no text to work with just yet. And only when the user enters an article, this is when we show the number of words and the fixed grammar option. And not just that, like remember how before we said your text contains approximately 16 words? There's nothing too approximate about it, is there? Like counting words is a pretty exact science. So now we just tell the user, okay, you've got 16 words to work with. So now let's go back to the old design. We had settings in two different places. So we had the options and we had the settings. And now if we look at the new design, we've put all of those settings into one single place. And there's the new settings button, which is always in the bottom left corner of all of the steps. And this is where you'll find the settings. And if we click the settings button, we get two sets of settings, the words and phrases and the sentences and paragraphs. So all the settings are in one place and it's immediately obvious what they do. And if you're unsure about any of the settings, you can just like click the more information link and you'll see this more information box slide in and you can read it and then you can just go back and you can close the settings option. So what about the two buttons that are used to progress into the next step? Well, in the new design, there's just one button, rewrite article. And it's immediately obvious that this is the primary action and that this is how you move to step 2 of the process. And it still lets users do everything they wanted to do before because the settings are a bit more clever now. So now we've got the step 1. It's so much cleaner. It shows you what you need to see. It's got the settings in the bottom left corner and it's got the primary action that moves you onto the next step of the process in the bottom right corner. So now let's move on to step 2. Okay, so we are now in step 2 of the old design. And this is where we got our processed article. And if you read the instructions, it says double click a word to see a list of suggested synonyms. So we can do that. We can click book and we double click it to select it and we get the list of synonyms that are available. And we can pick the top synonyms for the word book. So novel, magazine, handbook, and so on. And this works great. But to be completely honest, when a user brings their mouse cursor over a word, there's no indication that they should double click the word to select it. So if they just single click it, nothing happens. And they have to read the actual instruction to know that they need to double click in order to see the synonyms. And let's go take a look at how we've done this in the new design. So this is step 2 of the new design. Now the first thing you'll notice is we've still got our progress bar at the top. So we know that the step 1 is finished, we know that we're now in step 2, and we know there's one step ahead of us, which is great. And if we wanted to go back to step 1, we just do this. And we know that step 1 is available and we can go back to it. And if we want to go back to it, we get this little warning like, if you made any changes, make sure you don't lose them. So let's stay in step 2. Now let's go take a look at the article. Without reading any of the instructions, if we put the mouse cursor over a word, we see that it's actionable. There's something there. And we can, if we just click it, just with this regular single click, we get the list of synonyms. And we can once again pick the top synonyms. So it's immediately apparent that these words are actually actionable and they have a hidden feature. And it now just takes a single click instead of a double click to get to the list of synonyms. Now what's even cooler about that is we know a lot of the old users are going to be double clicking the words because they're used to that. So even if you double click a word, we do still show them the list of synonyms because it still works the way it used to. But then if they click anywhere else on the page, we close the synonym selection interface. So if we stay in the step 2 of the new design for a while longer, you'll see that once again we have the settings button in the bottom left corner, which is where the settings were in step 1. And if we open the settings, we see that we can now work with the settings for words and phrases, and that the readability setting applies to both one-click rewrite and to the top button. And if we're not sure what the top button is, we can just bring in the explanation. So that's pretty cool. And we've got some advanced settings as well. And we tell the user about the keyboard shortcuts, which weren't extremely apparent before. So we're now in step 2, and we can now run the one-click rewrite option that does everything for us. And once we've done that, we've got millions of possible versions of our starting article, and it's also immediately obvious how we move into the next step by clicking the finalize article that will take us to step 3. Now, if we go look at the step 2 of the old design, this is what it looked like. So there was no indication that these words are selectable, and if you clicked one, nothing happened. You had to double click a word. So then if you wanted to move on to the final step, step 3, this button made it somewhat obvious that that's how you did that, but it wasn't so obvious as it is right now. And also the settings were displayed in a different way and in a different place than they were in step 1, whereas now in the new step 2, the settings button is exactly where it was in step 1, so it's much more consistent. Okay, so I think it's time for us to move to step 3 of the process. Okay, so we're now in step 3 of the old design, and we've got our finalized article in Spintext format right here. And we've got a couple of other options. We can switch the Spintext format to something else. We can edit the article name, and this name is used to show our article inside our archive of all articles that we have. And we can change the category of the article. And then we've got some options, some settings, and then we can generate a unique version of this article or export hundreds of articles. So let's go take a look at what the step 3 in the new design looks like now. So this is step 3 of the new design. We've got our steps and we can return to any of the previous steps, and we now know that we're in the final step. And we get this nice success message telling us that our article has been finalized and saved to our archive, and we can now generate unique versions of our article below, which is always nice to know. So, just like before, we have our article in Spintext format, but it was a little bit unreadable before. This is mostly meant to be used with other software products, so this is not something humans are usually reading. But even then, now we're showing the article in Spintext format in a much nicer way. But if a user wants to click on it and copy it somewhere else, as soon as you click on it, it turns into a regular input field and you can select the text and copy it and everything like that. And it also gives you the option to edit the article name or switch the Spintext format. And if you wanted to edit your finalized article, as soon as you start editing the article, you'll see the Save Changes button. But if you then return the article to its original state, the button goes away again because it's not needed. So this is how we show the finalized article in Spintext format in the old and the new design. And it's so much nicer in the new design. So now let's go take a look at some more things. We had some settings here before, and then we could generate a unique version of an article. And we got this. So this is our unique article, and if we click the button again, we get a different unique article. So in the new design, we've got the settings here in the bottom left, just like we had them in step 1 and step 2. So this is very consistent. And we can see the explanations, and we can go back and all of that good stuff. So the settings are exactly where we expected them to be. And all the buttons that have to do with the actual process of creating articles, like the exporting of hundreds of articles or generating a unique article, are right here, just as all actionable primary buttons were in the previous steps. So now we can generate a unique article from our Spintext article. And this is how we see the generated unique article that we just made. And if we click this button again, we get the little bouncy arrows and we get a new unique version of the article. So there's one more thing that we should talk about at this point. We're now showing you the uniqueness in the exact same place we showed you the uniqueness in step 2. And we're giving you the fixed grammar option in the exact same space that we gave you the fixed grammar option in step 1. So all of this is extremely consistent, and all of this just makes so much more sense. And we can still click this and go back to step 3 without any of the generated unique articles. Whereas in the old version, once we generated a unique version, we could never go back to the simpler design with just this input field showing. So this is how we made the process so much simpler. It's got three very obvious steps. Step one, which is where you enter your article, and you've got all of your settings right here. Then you've got the step two, where the words make it very obvious that they're easily clickable, and you can change all of the synonyms just like that. And you've got the settings in the same place and the uniqueness right here. And this is how you move to the next step of the process. And once you get to the next step, you've got your finalized article, you've got the settings in the same place, you can generate a unique article, and then you've got the uniqueness progress bar right here, just like you did in step 2, and the fixed grammar option right here, just like you did in step 1. So this is now much more consistent and much more satisfying to use. So this is just a small part of the improvements we're bringing with Spin Rewriter version 10, and I hope you're as excited about it as we are. And I absolutely cannot wait until October 10th when you get access to the brand new version. So until then, have a great day. Hey, I'm Aaron, but enough about me. Let me show you the software, because that's what you're really interested in. Let me show you hands-on the technology that makes Spin Rewriter so incredibly powerful, and then I'm gonna do a little challenge and try to create 500 awesome and completely unique new articles in just 45 seconds using nothing but Spin Rewriter. Are you with me? Okay, let's get started by entering a sentence into Spin Rewriter. John can relax and read a book because his kids can book the vacation for him. Now here's what makes Spin Rewriter stand out. Most other content tools don't understand English. They don't get that the same word can have more than one meaning. So they see a word like book and they change it to novel, which is fine here. But then they do the same thing again and you end up with because his kids can novel the vacation for him, which doesn't make much sense, does it? Now let's run this sentence through Spin Rewriter. When we click here, we can see that Spin Rewriter knows that this book means novel and that this book means make a reservation. It can also tell that John is singular, so this can should become is able to, while kids is plural, so this can should become are able to. But this is not all Spin Rewriter can do. It can also detect that the word book belongs to the verb read, and that both actions relax and read a book can be swapped around to make your sentence even more unique. And not just that, it can even rearrange the entire sentence because it understands the cause and effect. So it moves the word because from the middle of the sentence to the very beginning, while preserving the exact same meaning, just like this. Now, if you want to spin this sentence manually, let's look at the word relax. Spin Rewriter can instantly suggest the top available synonyms, or you can select some more. When you're happy with your list of synonyms, you can quickly apply those synonyms to all words relax in this entire text, which will save you a lot of time. And of course, if you want Spin Rewriter to do all of the hard work for you, just use the one-click rewrite option, and Spin Rewriter will automatically determine the best synonyms for all of the words and phrases, completely hands-off. So let's take a look at just some of the results Spin Rewriter gives us. Since John's children are able to schedule the holiday for him, he can easily flip through a novel and rest. Here's another one. Because his kids can easily set up the trip for him, John is able to skim a newspaper and take it easy. All of this means that when you spin an article with Spin Rewriter, it makes sense. You don't have to spend ages going through it and rewriting it. With Spin Rewriter, it's completely unique and it still sounds just like a human wrote it. The difference between Spin Rewriter and most other spinners is that we don't just use a simple table of words. Spin Rewriter uses emulated natural language for its ENL semantic spinning technology. It analyzes your entire article to truly understand what you're trying to say. Our ENL technology is using something called convolutional neural networks, which is the same principle Google is using to rank the quality of content on the web. This means Google is basically trained to love the unique content you'll be generating. Our ENL semantic spinning technology also guarantees that when Spin Rewriter makes suggestions, it's far more accurate, saving you far more time, letting you put out more articles, build more blogs, and get more links for your money sites. With other spinners, you can do a few articles every day. With Spin Rewriter, you can become a publishing machine. And all of this is important because if you want to get really profitable rankings, you're going to need a lot of blogs and a lot of links, which means you're going to need almost unlimited content. With Spin Rewriter, you can generate as much unique content as you need, and you can do it in seconds. Let me show you how. I promised you 500 completely unique articles in just 45 seconds, so let's start the clock and do that. First, we need an article. Let's click Fetch a new article and use the built-in database of seed articles to find an article about, say, guitar lessons. Let's just pick this one and boom! So, now we're going to create 500 completely unique articles from this one. I'm just going to use our famous one-click rewrite option. Now, if you want manual control, you can do that, but this will tell Spin Rewriter to rework our article automatically. The processing takes a bit longer, but here you can see that Spin Rewriter is doing so much more to give you a vastly improved result. Now we've got our spun article. Let's click Export. Let's have every article in its own text file and 500 different versions. Now we just hit the button and ready to download. How easy was that? 500 optimized spins, that's 500 pieces of new content. That's enough for all your blogs, your entire PBN network, and if you're selling content to clients, you just got a completely unique version for all of them, just like that. 45 seconds, that's it. Now, the really cool part about Spin Rewriter is that we haven't even scratched the surface yet on just how much Spin Rewriter can make your life easier. Because we're not just about accuracy and we're not just about speed, we're about putting you in complete control. Unlike some other spinners, you're not limited to just spinning words. You can spin full sentences and even entire paragraphs, which lets you get even more unique text without changing the meaning of your article. You can even have Spin Rewriter create additional paragraphs. Select this option and Spin Rewriter will extract additional information from your text in order to create brand new paragraphs on its own. You can also set just how adventurous you want to be with your spinning. So if you just need a lot of versions, you can tell Spin Rewriter to make a lot of suggestions for every word. And if you're creating content for a PBN where you want to be a bit more confident about the quality, you can limit it to just the best options. You can also use multi-level spinning or set certain keywords, like maybe your brand name, that you don't want Spin Rewriter to change. Spin Rewriter can even fetch the most relevant videos and add them to your generated articles. And you can compare all of your new articles to the original text, and even make sure that your new articles pass Copyscape. But the real beauty of Spin Rewriter is that while you can do all of this, you don't need to. You just want to chuck in an article and get a fully readable spun version? Just push the button. You'll get a high quality article that you can use right away. So this is the point where in most of these videos people talk about how there's no risk in trying it out because it's all guaranteed and blah blah blah. And of course we're going to give you all of that, but we're actually also going to do something that's much better than any guarantee. Because today you can try Spin Rewriter out for yourself and pay literally nothing. When you sign up for your access today, as well as locking in your 60% discount, you also won't have to pay even a single cent for the first 5 days. That's 5 whole days of access completely free. You get all of the features you've just seen, the ENL semantic spinning technology, everything. You get a 5-day free trial, and only at the end of those 5 days you can decide if it's worth the investment. That's our promise, because I'm confident that once you see just how much time Spin Rewriter can save you, you're going to keep coming back to it again and again and again. When you get your first set of articles that you don't have to completely rework yourself, when you realize not just how much easier creating content's gonna be, but how much bigger you can make your business when this is something you just don't have to worry about anymore, you're going to find it's like a weight you never knew was there has just been lifted off your shoulders. Like Suzanne, her job of writing posts for all her blogs went from hours to just minutes. Or Anthony, who found that once he started using Spin Rewriter, managing all his blogs actually became fun. Or Rod, who's found everything got faster and more efficient since he started using us instead of a competitor. These are just 3 of literally tens of thousands of happy users. People like you who are using Spin Rewriter to get their content, their rankings, and their traffic. And all you have to do to join them is click the button below. Your first 5 days are completely free, but I gotta warn you, this deal won't be around for long. It's closing in a few days, and when it closes, the annual plan goes back to $197 per year and the free trial goes away. Right now, your free access is waiting for you, and we're even throwing in a set of bonuses that you can find a bit further down this page. So click the button below and claim your free access right now. I'm Aaron Sustar, and I'm really looking forward to you joining us. See you inside. Hey, it's Aaron here again, and in this video I would love to show you the true power of Spin Rewriter. In our main video I've already shown you some of the features quite quickly, but in this video I'd like to take the time and really dive into what Spin Rewriter can do for you. So let's get started. This is where it all begins when you want to spin your articles. We're now in step 1 of the process. The process itself has 3 steps. In the first step we enter the article that we want to spin. Then in step 2, we're going to rewrite the article by selecting the best synonyms for each word and phrase. Or also in step 2, we can run the one-click rewrite to do all of the work for us and produce an amazing result. And then finally in step 3, we're going to take the spun article that we created and we'll be able to generate dozens or even hundreds of unique articles from it. We'll get to that in a minute, but now let's make ourselves comfortable here in step 1. So here, to get started, we can simply enter the article that we want to spin into this big input field. Or we can use the Fetch a New Article option to search through the built-in database. Let's quickly fetch an article about guitar lessons. Okay, we've got our results. Let's go with this one and insert it. Okay, we're now good to go. Let me just add some custom text to the beginning of this article so I can easily show you some of the features in action later on. Now let's take another look around here in step 1. I think it's pretty obvious how we're going to proceed to step 2 with this button here. But before we do, let's take a look at the settings because they're really powerful. Here we can tell Spin Rewriter if we want to spin our article on the level of rewriting individual sentences and changing entire paragraphs. Thanks to our ENL semantic spinning technology, we've got a number of really powerful options here, and you can read more about each individual option by simply viewing more information, like this. Now, we've also got other settings here to make the process even more powerful, but we'll go in more detail on those once we get to step 2. And with that said, let's return to our main screen and proceed to step 2. Let's go, just click the button and we're on our way. Okay, we are now in step 2, which means that Spin Rewriter has analyzed the meaning of our article and prepared all of the synonyms for individual words and phrases that we're going to use. It's made sure that the synonyms are going to make perfect sense, so here we go. Let's take a look at the first couple of sentences, just to cover the basics first, before moving on to more advanced features. Here, you can see that Spin Rewriter can tell the difference between book as in novel and book as in make a reservation. It also changes John can into John is able to, while it changes the kids can into the kids are able to, even though it's the exact same word, can, in both cases. Now let's move on to our first ENL semantic spinning feature. Remember the option in step 1 that said automatically change the structure of phrases and sentences? Well, if we select that option, something amazing will happen here in step 2. Let's take these 2 sentences for example. John can relax and read a book because his kids can book the vacation for him. Once it's booked, he will enjoy an excellent movie and drink wine, beer or whiskey. Now with that ENL semantic spinning option selected in step 1, this is what we get. Here, Spin Rewriter knows that book belongs to the verb read, so it's able to automatically change the order of these 2 phrases while making sure it all still makes perfect sense. It also knows that here we're just naming a set of beverages and that these beverages can be reordered and still make perfect sense. Now, in addition to the reordering, we can also still add synonyms to any of the drinks. So if we click on wine, we get this list. We could use this handy All button to quickly select all available synonyms. But that doesn't usually give us a great result, so instead, let's use the Top button right here. The Top button instantly selects all of the synonyms that Spin Rewriter recommends. We can select some additional ones, and once we're happy with our list, we can click this handy Apply to All button. This button instantly applies our list of synonyms to every single instance of the word wine in our entire article, saving you so much time. So that's pretty cool, right? Now, if we use another powerful feature from step 1, Spin Rewriter can also take parts of sentences and completely rebuild them while preserving the original meaning. Here in this second sentence, you can see how the word because moved from the middle of the first sentence to the very beginning of the new one. Both sentences still make perfect sense, and both are completely unique. Now, let's scroll down a little. Below this editing area here, we can always see the uniqueness percentage of our current article. Once we've selected a couple of synonyms like we did above, we can always decide to save our project for later, and we can continue spinning our article whenever we want. And of course, as I mentioned, you can always just let Spin Rewriter do all of the work for you by using our famous one-click rewrite button. Now, before we run this magical process, let's take another look at our settings first. This is where we tell Spin Rewriter if we want to turn our article into a large number of very unique articles or a smaller number of super readable ones. We can also tell Spin Rewriter to protect some of our keywords. So for example, if we're promoting a restaurant called Big Burgers, we don't want the name to ever get changed to Huge Burgers. So we just put Big Burgers in here, and Spin Rewriter will never touch this phrase. Or we could also check this option, and Spin Rewriter won't touch any of the capitalized words, which in our case would also protect the name of our restaurant just the same. Okay, now that we're happy with our settings, let's go back to the main screen, because it's time for the big act. Let's click our famous one-click rewrite button right here, and watch as Spin Rewriter does its magic. It's now doing all of the hard work for us. It's selecting the best synonyms for every single word and phrase. And once it's done, we can literally generate billions of unique articles from the one we started with. And they're all absolutely unique. So this is pretty amazing, right? Now let's move into the final step of our process by clicking this Finalize button right here. You can see that now we've arrived to the final step, step 3, and here we're going to generate all the unique articles we could ever need. This is where we see our finalized version of our spun article. This is called a Spintax article, and it's what we created in step 2. And now it's going to serve as the basis for all the unique articles we'll generate. Now, before we start creating our articles, let me show you a couple of additional settings you can use to make your articles even more unique. Let's, for example, fetch some relevant videos from the database of countless videos that's built right into Spin Rewriter. We can click this button and tell Spin Rewriter that we want videos about guitar lessons. Okay, we've got some suggestions. Let's pick, for example, 4 of them. And let's insert 2 of them into every article that we'll generate. Confirm, and we're good to go. We could also do the same thing with relevant images, and it's just as easy. Or we could go into settings here for some additional advanced features, but you'll probably want to explore those on your own, like a true Spin Rewriter Columbus. Okay, we're ready now. Let's click the big Generate a Unique Article button right here. Spin Rewriter will instantly create one of the perfectly readable and completely unique new articles for us right here. Once we've got it, we can see just how unique it is compared to our original article. And if we click Preview, we'll see what our new article will look like once we post it to any of our websites. Here you can even see the 2 videos that we've selected before. And if we compare our new article to the one we started with, you can tell that it's completely unique. Now, here in step 3, we can also run a copyscape check. Or we can take the unique article we just generated and send it directly to any of our WordPress websites just by clicking this button. We pick one of the websites we've connected before, click this button right here, and we can send this new article straight to our website with a single click. Let's do that, and boom! This new article is now already posted on our website. So that was pretty awesome, right? There's also other things that you'll be able to explore for yourself. For example, here in your archive, you can sort your articles into different categories so you can work on multiple projects at the same time. And you can edit or export multiple articles at the same time. Now there's dozens of other awesome features and goodies available to you once you become one of our amazing Spin Rewriter members. And you'll be able to find all of those on your own, or with the help of our detailed video tutorials that are already waiting for you inside the members area. So after seeing this video, I hope you love the awesome power of the ENL semantic spinning technology just as much as we do. Spin Rewriter is the only article spinning tool on the planet that uses this technology, and there's just no comparison to anything else on the market. So hopefully you'll decide to join us, and remember that right now there's still the 5-day free trial available, which means you can get your access right now without paying even a single dollar. So create your free account and I'll see you inside.